Hi, how are ya?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Nintendo as a company has enchanted us with charming and innovative titles for decades now. I'll be discussing the most underrated games the company has to offer. In my opinion. What? He said opinions? Hey, now that they're gone, if this goes well, I want to make this a series, and if you like it, you can subscribe.
Because Mario might be super duper.
I almost chose the USA version of Mario 2 for this list, but more than likely, you played this game on several ports or on the Virtual Console. But hey, did you know, back in the day, it was originally called Doki Doki Panic, with several different reskins, and it was a different... For this list, I'm going to discuss the initial Mario game for the 3DS console, Super Mario 3D Land. Overall, it was really well received, but I feel like it's looked down upon compared to other modern Mario games, such as Mario Odyssey. It plays a massive role in the early start of the 3DS's success. Back in 2011, the 3DS had a rough start. We basically had Pilot Wings 3DS and Nintendogs. An excellent catalog to start with. I recall being so bored that I was playing that AR game that had the balls and the AR cards. I don't remember it. I digress. It would almost seem like the 3DS would undergo the same fate as the Wii U, a marketing mishap that would result into the demise of the console itself. The 3DS had a similar name and appearance to the DS. Just slap a 3 on it and confused soccer moms couldn't tell the difference. On top of that, the system wasn't cheap at all. Nintendo offered an ambassador program for the early adopters who spent the hefty $249.99 on the system on launch. That's $50 less than the Nintendo Switch. I totally didn't do that. The game launched later that year and it received great feedback and reviews. It brought the 3DS out of obscurity. 3D Land featured refreshing level designs that mixed elements of past and present. A health system reminiscent of 3D time. It was a wonderful and balanced blend of 2D and 3D gameplay. That balance between the two gameplays is something we would see in the Wii U's sequel, Mario 3D World. The game's soundtrack incorporated new tunes along with some old remixes. The saxophone was really good too, trust me. Give it a listen. To me, this game nailed the perfect amount of nostalgia and a beautiful new adventure. It felt really fresh. Super Mario 3D Land was one of the few early games on the 3DS that felt really great to play. Nintendo's system was on thin ice. Of course, the 3DS found its place, holding one of the most iconic libraries in the decade, but its unstable launch may forever put a stunt in Mario 3D Land's place on Mario's franchise.
As my gift to the Pope, I gave him a copy of Undertale.
This game's an easy pick for me. Sure, this game has a cult following now, but originally it wasn't like this. The game didn't sell well at all. The marketing was a bit ambitious too. For those who were lucky enough to purchase this gem, there were a few things, such as the foul-smelling Earthbound scratch and sniff stickers, a strategy guide, memorable characters, and bizarre humor and an aesthetic that wouldn't stop. Earthbound was a role-playing game for those who wanted something different, something unorthodox. This game wasn't something like the traditional fantasy setting that Square Enix made popular in the 90s. The story revolves around not some spiky-haired anime boy, not a knight destined for greatness, but a child. A child named Ness. After being warned by the powerful Buzz, a bee from the future, says that the world's in danger. Ness embarks on a quest that will take him all across the world in an attempt to stop the demented alien, Gygus, from taking over the future. On his journey, he'll encounter Blues Brother bootlegs, sea monsters, a cult completely obsessed with color blue, all while bonding with your party members. A psychic girl, a child genius, and a martial artist named Pooh. You continue developing your psychic powers by leveling up and to save all of Eagle Land. Like a majority of all RPGs, the combat's reminiscent of Dragon Quest turn-based battles. However, it does take some risks, and it's really refreshing on how it works. First and all, the encounters are pretty hilarious. Have you ever played a game that you beat down a rampant hippie? Second, the health bar has properties similar to an odometer. It counts down as you take damage, and if you take a killing blow, you can survive the fight if you finish the fight before the odometer goes to 0. It leads to managing your party members in a fast and funny battle. The music is great and provides really great atmosphere. The characters and NPCs are a joke, and the story is simple, yet charming at the same time. The game could have had much more success if it wasn't released in the same year as Chrono Trigger, but overall, it's a diamond in the rough on the SNES. So when you think of Kirby, what do you think of? Most of the time, it's just a small pink boy, a simple platformer, or a banger of a soundtrack the series has. But what about racing? In 2003, Kirby did exactly that in Kirby's Air Ride on the Nintendo GameCube. The game consists of 3 game modes: Air Ride, Top Ride, and City Trial. Air Ride is the standard racing mode. You play as Kirby and race against other colored Kirbys and select from a huge number of vehicles which are vastly different from each other, from the traditional Warp Star to the unorthodox driving mechanics of the Swerve Star. Then, you choose from 9 different tracks and you start the race. The gameplay itself is similar to Mario Kart. There's speed boosts, ramps, and power-ups, although rather than running into boxes for power-ups, in Kirby's Air Ride, the power-ups are enemies. Kirby sucks them up and gets their ability like he does in the normal games. Another thing to note is that your acceleration is fixed, meaning you're moving by default rather than holding a button like most racing games. Top Ride is a mode I played least back in the day. He plays Kirby on a small top-down track. Most of the races consist of 5 to 10 laps. This mode isn't really exciting, but the whole slot car vibe is kind of an interesting choice. Finally, the mode everyone loves the most is called City Trial. You play in a large city-like scape that spawns 9 different upgrades called patches, and there's carts scattered all over the map. The goal is to collect as many patches as you can and find a cart that's better than the one you have. At the end of the time limit, you do get out in different events or racing. Sometimes you're battling your opponents, or you're trying to fly as far as you can. Overall, this mode has the most replayability to me, and it's only multiplied when you get a few buddies around. On top of that, there's a variation of this mode called Free Mode. You basically just play on the City Trial map, and it's kind of fun. You know, me and my brother did a lot of goofy things on here. I'm pretty sure a lot of households did this. When Air Ride released, critics' average scores were around 5 out of 10, claiming that the gameplay was overly simple. Sure, it's simple, but the replayability and the entertaining gimmicks make it a really underrated game for its time frame. It's under the shadow of Mario Kart Double Dash to me. Nintendo has forgotten a fair amount of their wide array of series over the years, such as Mother, F-Zero, Advance Wars, and the one we're going to talk about right now. Custom Robo. Only 2 of the games made it to the States, but there were 5 or so in the series. First, it was Custom Robo for the GameCube, and this one, the final entry in the series. The reception of the series as a whole has been overly positive. The series hasn't had a title in over 12 years, and I feel like it kinda got swept under the rug. The selling point and gimmick of the series was the massive focus on customization. The simple controls and rules make it easy to play but hard to master. The story mode had a lot to be desired, but you don't play a Gundam fighting game for the plot. Or at least, I don't. The story looks directly ripped out of an RPG Maker game. It's corny, cliche, and it's pretty much extra fluff for the game. You're the new kid in town, you get a robot, fight criminal team, etc, etc. Basically, it's a Diet Coke version of Pokemon. However, the customizable items you collect in the story make it well worthwhile. The gameplay mechanics is where Custom Robo Arena really shines. You move around freely in an environment and it lets you play passive or aggressive. Figuring out what guns, bombs, and pods to use make it really exciting even when I was a babby. With hundreds of custom loadouts, balance in the weapons, chassis, and movement options, every player will find a playstyle that suits them the best. Custom Robo Arena is the definition of underrated. Nintendo has the impression of pumping out instant gold, being loved and discussed among millions. However, that's not really the case. Some games went under the radar and even became cult classics. But hey, what Nintendo games do you think are underrated? Let me know in the comments. There's one thing for certain, this company captivates and caters to all types of fans, and their passion really shows.